Oh my gosh, it's a huge loaded weekend in sports. Probably one of the best weekends in sports. Desmond Johnson here with you on the Desmond Johnson Show. Got my man Ryan Stone in the house for best bets. The entire show is designed to put money in your pocket for this weekend. It's football Latin. We got pro football. We got college football, the national championships on Monday night. We're going to hit you up with everything you need to know to get ready for all of this. We're going to put all the onus on Ryan here to help you out. Get some money, pay due power with some of these bets you're going to do this weekend. It's the Desmond Johnson Show. Let's go ahead and roll.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city need that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed whacked. I'm going harder than a martyr on the slaughter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches, I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome into the Desmond Johnson Show. It's a live Friday edition here, getting you ready for a whole bunch of football over the course of this weekend. You can follow us on our YouTube channel at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, and follow us on our social media platforms on X at Tobacco Radio, on Facebook at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, and of course on Instagram as well. Ryan Stone in the house with us as he is every end of the week to do best bets with Ryan Stone. Dude, we're just going to jump right into it. Let's actually, matter of fact, let's just start off with the divisional rounds and we'll just go in order the way they are. So I like the way they kind of set this up. They've got Kansas City starting us off on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. They're taking on the Houston Texans and quarterback C.J. Stroud. Thoughts on this? The Kansas City Chiefs, Pat Mahomes is, I think, 6-0 in divisional round playoff games. Never lost at Arrowhead. Kansas City Chiefs are the number one seed, 15-2. Just kind of strolling into the playoffs. And actually, I feel like they're getting better because they're getting healthy. Their offense is actually returning players as they're starting to get into the playoffs here. Give me your thoughts on this matchup. Does Houston have a shot? And what bets are you looking at for this game?
Well, if we're going off what we've seen from the Chiefs all season, right? They keep they don't cover spreads. Like they don't, so they play close games. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs have a chance. And I mean, honestly, not the Chiefs. I mean, the Texans have a chance. And honestly, credit to the Texans because I did not think last week they were going to beat the Chargers, and they absolutely dismantled the Chargers. They got some help, 4 interceptions from Justin Herbert, but their defense looked pretty good. So I mean, I think this can be a pretty competitive ball game. The first thing that I actually did on Sunday night, after all the games finished up and the lines started coming out for the divisional round, and I got this before there was some movement, but I teased the Chiefs down to -2, and I teased the Ravens up to +7.5, which you can't really do anymore because the Ravens are now the favorite. They were the underdog at that point when I did that. But that was the first bet I actually put in. I mean, there could be movement this weekend, and that becomes a possibility if there's movement on that Buffalo game. But that was the first bet I made was Ravens +7.5, Chiefs -2 on a teaser parlay. Another thing, the more I started to look that I really like is Travis Kelce receiving yards over 50 yards. It's pretty low for Travis Kelce, who is, in my opinion, the second best tight end of all time, and maybe one of the best postseason tight ends of all time as well.
Who's your number one, by the way? Just want to say.
I would say Gronk at this point.
That's fair.
You notice it in big games this season. Like he's had some games where he hasn't done as much, but in big games they lean on Travis Kelce. They tell him go get open. He doesn't really run routes. If you actually watch Travis Kelce, he just goes to find space and gets open, and that he's great at it. So I think they'll do that in this game. So I like Travis Kelce to have at least 50 receiving yards in this game.
The Chiefs beat the Texans 27-19 in Week 16. Xavier Worthy had a pretty good game. The rookie wide receiver for Kansas City had 7 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. They ran the ball well. Pat Mahomes played pretty decent in terms of having an efficient day. And the defense played well. And I think that's the thing that's kind of lost in the sauce when it comes to Kansas City. Their defense might be one of the better defenses they've had during this run this year in terms of containing.
Another lean I'd probably have on this game is actually the under. I think this will be a lower scoring game than the first time, because I think the Texans defense is playing a lot better, as we saw last week. So I think this is a little bit lower scoring game than the first time these two teams met. So under is another bet that I would consider in this one as well.
Are you worried about Kansas City at all? Is there anything about Kansas City that concerns you?
Not this week.
Not this week. Okay, yeah. There's a big one looming next week. They get out of here. Yeah. So
next week. Something else of note. The Texans are the obvious underdog here, and there's three pretty significant underdogs this weekend. I was kind of doing some research. So underdogs that were underdogs in the wild card round, which that fits three teams this weekend. That fits the Commanders, that fits the Texans, and that fits the Rams. They were all underdogs in the wild card round. When they advanced to the divisional round, in the last 2 years, those teams are 1-7 straight up. In the past, I think 4 years, they're like 2-15, 3-15, something like that. So just something to keep in mind for people betting.
Lions Commanders Saturday at 8:00. That game is on Fox. The Washington Commanders, me and Jonathan Stewart were talking about this on Believe in Panthers earlier in the week. We were trying to figure out who's the most dangerous offense still left in the playoffs. And we had ultimately landed on Baltimore, but the Commanders were up there. I believe the Commanders had a game this year where they didn't punt, if I remember.
Oh, they've had a few.
They had a couple like that.
They didn't punt last week.
Yeah, and I was watching that game, and I was just like, Jalen Daniels does not look like a rookie quarterback. He might be the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen. Like he just seems so smooth. Everything he does just seems so specific. And
it's interesting you brought up the punts because that's actually my favorite bet on this game.
Oh,
under 6.5 punts. I actually couldn't believe the number was that high because these two teams love to go for it on fourth down. I don't know that there are two teams in the league that have gone for it on fourth down more this season than these two teams. These two teams both possess the ball. They're both top 5 in the league in possession in terms of sustaining drives or whatever. They're also both top 10, I believe, in yards per play, and they're both bottom 10 defensively in yards per play given up. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of punts in this game. I expect it to be back and forth, and I expect both these teams, if they're in plus territory and it's fourth down and it's a manageable fourth down, I expect them to go for it. So I really like under 6.5 punts in that game.
Especially the Lions. If they get near like their own 40, it's just like they're going for it. Like, and I love that mentality. Ron Rivera, not to this degree. Ron Rivera got the riverboat name for going for it on fourth down more often than not, but not like this. Like the Lions treated it.
He also, he was doing it when nobody was doing it. Now it's kind of become a pretty common thing.
Right. I don't understand why people haven't done it more often. You see it more in high school a lot of times because usually they don't have a punter or a kicker that's good enough to do whatever. But I would imagine more NFL teams would start doing this once you get past the 50. The odds are kind of with you if it's 4th and 2 or whatever. Now, I have seen teams outthink themselves. Like it'll be 4th and 2 and then they'll run a bootleg and try to throw it or something like that. Just lean forward. Just lean forward and pick it up.
You could kind of make the case. There's two cases I think you can make about that Tampa and Washington game. Them going forward on fourth down is why they won the game.
Yeah,
they didn't get the first time they went for it, but they got the rest of them. The other case would be I get why Tampa ran that reverse because they've had a lot of success with it. I just don't like that call in that part of the field where it's kind of a risky play. And plus, Bucky Irving was starting to get 5-6 yards of carry. So I think that was just a bad play call in that part of the field. But
I will not miss seeing him the rest of the season. He has haunted me all year. It feels like anytime I've seen Bucky Irving.
Think of a 4th round pick.
Yeah. So in that one, and are you leaning one way or another in terms of a pick for that one? We pretty much assume the Chiefs are going to move forward, but actual, just who you got winning the game, Lions or Commanders? It's shorts of 1 seed.
I think the Lions win the game. I just don't know. I can't get to 9.5. I don't think I wouldn't take them minus 9.5. I wouldn't necessarily take the Commanders plus 9.5 either. But because it wouldn't surprise me if one way or the other one of these teams covers late. Probably would look at Jaden Daniels' rushing attempts. I don't know what that number is yet. I hadn't looked at that quite yet. That's something I probably would look at because especially on fourth down, if they're going to go for it, and especially if they're behind, they're going to use his legs. I will say. I know we're going to talk about the national championship game in a little bit, but if you do a money line parlay of the two games on Saturday, the two favorites on Saturday, the Chiefs, the Lions, and Ohio State in a money line parlay, it's like minus 110. So that's another bet that I did take.
Now, for people watching that Lions Commanders matchup and thinking about betting on it, it does seem like David Montgomery may be back. They thought he was going to be out for the season.
I don't know how much they'll use him.
I don't know either. He's practicing. I imagine he might get 5-10 snaps, but just having him out there with Jahmyr Gibbs kind of changes the rushing attack for the Lions. And the Commanders' defense is 28th in the NFL in yards per run allowed. So that's something to keep an eye on there.
It's a big part of why I like the under on the punts in this game, because neither one of these defenses is necessarily great at getting off the field.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that one might be a fun one. We might be looking at, scores in the 30s or something between those two there. And then you got on Sunday, Eagles, Rams, 3 o'clock. NBC and Peacock, if I'm not mistaken, have this game. No, wait, is that right? Yeah, that's right. The first time the Rams and the Eagles played, Saquon Barkley ran for 255 yards on the ground. It's the 9th most in NFL history. But since then, the Rams defense has only given up 104 yards on the ground per game. Give me your bets for Eagles Rams.
So I think the Eagles can't be as vanilla as they were last week against Green Bay. It seemed like, they just got ahead and they weren't going to do anything to lose that game to an extent. So I feel like they can't. I don't think they can play that way again this week. I think they've got to be a little more aggressive. I also don't think Saquon's going to go for 255 again, but I do like him over on his rushing prop. I think it's 110, 111, something like that. I do think he'll go over that if they give him the ball enough. So I do like that. There's not a lot else that I necessarily like because A.J. Brown as an under potentially on his receiving yards. I do think they'll force him the ball a little more this week, whether it's in bubble screens or some capacity. His under receiving yards prop might be worth a look because I just don't think they're going to throw it to him but so much in this game, especially if they're having a lot of success running the ball. He might be reading that book more this week, which good for that author.
Is he really? Can you really read a book during an NFL game? Like, I'm wondering if it's for show or I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird. I've never seen that before.
That depends on your level of focus, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
Quarterbacks watch film during games with the
iPads. I guess that's true.
Not completely different, I don't guess. But I like Saquon's rushing prop over. I think it's over 111.5.
Who do you have in that game? Because that's actually a tricky game. Because I've been on the Rams for the past month as like that sneaky team that could get into the NFC playoffs and just kind of get all the way to the Super Bowl the way they've been playing, especially on offense.
This is what I'll say. I've been looking very, very much forward to the NFC and the AFC championship games this season and the 2 or 3 matchups that I'm expecting it to be. If the Los Angeles Rams mess that up for me, I already hate the Rams. I'm gonna be honest. I hate most Los Angeles teams, as you know.
Right.
And my thoughts and prayers still to people in Los Angeles.
Right. Exactly. True.
Just have never liked Los Angeles teams. But if they mess that up, I want Lions, Eagles, and I want Chiefs versus whoever wins.
So that's gonna be the next one though. So I've never been an Eagles fan, so I don't really root for them so much. I know they're one of the better
I'm not rooting for anybody in that game other than I have a money line parlay with the Eagles in it. So
I'm actually okay with either one of them. I think I kind of want the Rams because I've been on the Rams for the past month. I'm like, I think the Rams might be able to do something. They got the NFL is really the only league where, Major League Baseball too, where you can kind of get hot towards the end of the year and ride it through. You can't really do that in the NBA because of the way the playoffs are. Usually the cream rises to the top in the NBA in terms of the playoffs. Like over the course of 3 months, it's going to kind of whittle itself out. But the NFL is the only one where it's one game, and it's literally this whole season comes down to these 60 minutes. And if you played well, then fine. If you didn't, you might go home early. And that's kind of like Minnesota last week. They only lost to Detroit twice and the Rams once the entire year. And for their efforts winning 14 games, they have to travel cross country to play a wild card game against one of the teams they lost to, and they end up losing the game. And now their season is over after a 14-win season. It's just like you got to be on your P's and Q's in the NFL. So anything can happen. And that Eagles-Rams matchup seems like a toss-up to me. But I would probably go Eagles, I would guess, since they're hosting.
I think, the fact it's in Philadelphia, Los Angeles has to go across the country. They played on Monday night, so it's a little bit of a shorter week. I know they gave up 255 yards the first time, but over the last month, that young defense for the Rams has played a lot better. I think the Rams have a chance. Of the three, if you were to ask me to take an underdog this weekend, which one I thought would win, it would be the Rams.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the nightcap, I think this is the one everyone's kind of looking at, is like the marquee matchup of divisional round weekend. Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens. It's in Buffalo. I believe they're calling for snow, if I'm not mistaken.
65% chance.
Yeah.
I think the temperature's supposed to be 13 degrees and feel like -3.
Lamar, you keep getting these situations, man.
No,
Lamar got to win this game, man.
It's not Lamar. No. Just give the ball to the big guy.
He is coming in with bigger ammunition this time around. Now, again, last year it was the year where Baltimore was like breaking rushing records, and they got into the playoffs and ran the ball like 11 times or whatever in that game, and they lost. Was that the Kansas City? Yeah, I believe it was Kansas City. Yeah, where they just kind of suckered themselves into a duel with Pat Mahomes, and you're going to lose that more often than not. Yep. They have one of the best rushing offenses in football. Stu was telling me they're one of the more dangerous offenses in football because of them having Derrick Henry. And Lamar Jackson presents a problem that's different than Josh Allen. Josh Allen can take off running, yes, and he's good at it. But with Lamar, you literally have to – we saw who was it they were playing the last time they played? Pittsburgh. There was stretches where Pittsburgh had two guys shadowing Lamar. Like, you could literally see the linebacker and like a lineman just kind of standing up and just watching him do whatever he's doing because they didn't want to lose containment on him. I've never seen a player, and I'm a Cam Newton fan. I've never seen a quarterback where you've had to devote two guys on your defense just to watch him to see what he does. And Lamar, man, he's 4 interceptions this year. He's played better this year than his MVP season last year. But all of that goes away if he loses this game on the road to the Buffalo Bills, who I've said since preseason, they're at the end of their championship window. I've always said it's about a 3-4 year window from once you start making conference championships to keep that group together. And if you look over time, that's kind of what it is in the NFL. It's a 3-4 year window, except for the Kansas City Chiefs that are breaking that notion completely right now. But give me your bets for this one, because this one's the one everyone's kind of looking at the nightcap. It's on CBS starting at 6 o'clock.
I would disagree on the Bills being the end of their championship window, because this is a pretty different group outside of Josh Allen.
They have kind of revamped the offense. Yeah, you're right.
I think their window is extended a little bit, even if they don't win it this year. But I mentioned the big guy. So Derrick Henry. So this is kind of the chess match I'm interested in. The Bills defensively, schematically, typically play a 4-2-5, which, if you don't know, that's four down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 secondary players. That's 5 pretty small people on the field, right? And their linebackers aren't the biggest. When the favorite formation that the Ravens run out of is 6 linemen and a fullback, which all weigh over 300 pounds. All the linemen and the fullback, all 300 pounds at least.
Jumbo.
You cannot play a 4-2-5, in my opinion, against that. It's impossible. So what do the Bills do? Also, I'm going to make the Bills try to tackle Derrick Henry when it feels like -3 degrees outside.
Yeah, that does not sound like fun at all.
I like Derrick Henry over 19.5 rushing attempts. I think they will lean on him. I think if Todd Monken is smart, he learned from his mistakes last year. And I think we will see them run the ball. I also think in this game, I don't know that either defense is going to be able to stop the other offense. So I think ball possession and trying to keep the ball away is essentially going to be the best way to play defense in this game. And in that same notion, I like Josh Allen over 8.5 rushing attempts as well. In big games, they run him, and they should. He's a big guy. He's hard to bring down. And, again, kind of in the same vein, I'm going to make those – sorry, I muted myself for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make those Baltimore defenders have to tackle Josh Allen when it's -3 degrees outside. So I like in this game, I like Derrick Henry over 19.5 rushing attempts. I like Josh Allen over 8.5 rushing attempts. And I'd probably also – I think there's a plus money parlay where you can put 40-plus yards rushing for Josh Allen and 40-plus yards rushing for Lamar Jackson as well. That's another one that I would probably put.
So that's the 6 o'clock kickoff, the nightcap on Sunday. That's on CBS. That's Ravens Bills. The winners of all 4 of these matchups move on to conference championship Sunday next week. Real quick before I get you out of here, though, Monday we've got the college football playoff national championship. We would not have gotten Ohio State versus Notre Dame any other way without having the college football playoff. Like, they wouldn't even been in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they would have been playing in the Orange Bowl or whatever, just in a meaningless kind of bowl game. But instead, you get 2 of the biggest brands in college football. I went to go look. I can't find it now, but Ohio State, or I should say Notre Dame, has not beaten Ohio State in football in a very, very long time. And I think I closed the tab, but it was like, I think they haven't beat them since like 1939 or something like that. Something nuts. No, they rarely play each other, but
yeah, I think they played a few years ago, but they don't play a lot.
Yeah, they don't play a whole lot. So I was trying to find that. But first of all, give me your main bets that you're looking at on here. And then I had some prop bets I was looking at that seemed interesting to get your opinion on before we get everybody out of here and get them back out of lunchtime.
So I'm not really in a rush to bet the -8 or -8.5 with Ohio State. I bet Ohio State. I think I said last week before the semifinals that I took Ohio State to win the national championship at +120. So not really in a rush to bet Ohio State in terms of that. I will say there's a couple things. I think special teams favors Notre Dame. I think that's a big part of the reason why they are in this situation. They've also kind of been really reliant on turnovers, which I don't know that that's going to bode well against this Ohio State team. Now, the concern for Notre Dame, in my opinion, is they are a man team in terms of coverage. Those are the teams that Jeremiah Smith has absolutely torched in this college football playoff. And going back to the Michigan game, they've played two man teams. This will be the second man team they've played, or the third man team they've played. The teams that have played 2 high safeties have fared better against Jeremiah Smith. That's why Texas did a pretty good job on him. I'd be interested to see if Notre Dame continues to play man or not, because I don't think that's necessarily the best idea. I do like Riley Leonard over 13.5 rushing attempts. I know that sounds like a lot, but they ran him 18 times in the last game. They ran him a lot against Georgia. Also, the weird thing in college that you don't do in the NFL, sacks count as a rushing attempt. So he got sacked a number of times last week against Penn State, and this is a very good Ohio State front as well. So I think he could be sacked quite a few times also. So I like Riley Leonard over 13.5 rushing yards. If you like Ohio State, my suggestion would be when you're betting 8.5, you're essentially betting on Ohio State to win by at least 10 points or more. Yeah. You don't see a lot of games end on 9 in terms of the difference. If you like them 8.5 or 8, I would take it up to -9.5 on an alt line at plus money. Also, I would probably do -12.5 to get it up to 13 to 14 points as well at like plus 125 if you like Ohio State in this matchup. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It wouldn't surprise me if it's pretty similar to the Ohio State-Texas game if we get something like 28-14, something like that.
I don't think it'll be a blowout either. Notre Dame just seems like they're playing with so much swagger right now, and same for Ohio State. Like I'm actually going to probably sit down and watch the entirety of that game, even though I don't really have a dog in the fight. And before I get you out of here, again, there was a couple of prop bets that I'd seen just to get your opinion on. Riley Leonard anytime touchdown at plus 125 at FanDuel. He's struggled to throw it all year, but like you said, he ran the ball 18 times last week. So it's certainly not a bad bet. I would rather take the bet I was talking about with the rushing attempts because they haven't necessarily. I think he did score a touchdown in the last game, but they haven't necessarily used him in that situation a ton this season. So it's certainly. I don't think it's a bad bet, but kind of when you're betting a quarterback to score a touchdown, you're kind of betting on it being on the goal line almost, and how many opportunities are they going to get in that situation is the question. The other two, I was looking at Will Howard over 245.5 yards passing. That's at -115 at FanDuel. And Jeremiah Love over 41.5 yards rushing. That's at minus 114 at FanDuel also. So all these are coming through from FanDuel, but those are the two that popped up that I saw. I was like, the Jeremiah Love one looks doable.
Love is probably a solid bet.
Yeah.
They've run him a decent amount this season. I think Notre Dame is going to try to help their defense by trying to keep them off the field as much as possible. So I think running the ball is what Notre Dame is going to try to establish. So the love one's not a bad one. What was the other one? Will Howard.
Will Howard over 245 and a half passing yards.
I don't know that. I'm not saying he won't go over that, but I don't know that. I don't. Like I said, it kind of. This game wouldn't surprise me if it's like a 28-14, 28-17, 31-17 type of ball game. And if you're in control, if you're Ohio State, how much do you really throw the ball in the second half? Would be my question. Because you just risk turning the ball over and letting Notre Dame make a play that swings the momentum. If you're ahead, now if they fall behind early, then over 245 and a half is probably not a bad bet. But it's also a game that I would consider betting live as well. For example, if any team, either team jumps out to a 2-score lead early, just kind of look at what the lines are potentially, or even if you like Ohio State and say Notre Dame goes down the field and scores on the first play, that Ohio State line is probably going to come down to below a touchdown at least. So that's something to keep in mind too.
So that's the national championship. Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. That is Monday night. I want to say it's a 9:00 kickoff.
I thought they had moved it up the last couple of years.
I think they have. I think it might be 8:00 for the kickoff for that. But just check online for that. It'll be on ESPN, of course, the home for the college football playoffs. And they may be simulcasting it on ABC as well, but I know for sure it's on ESPN. So
7:30 is the start time, actually.
7:30. Oh, excellent, especially for a Monday night game.
Yeah.
So get everybody in bed by 10:30. So there you go. The NFL divisional round, the national championship on Monday. We'll have Ryan back next week. We'll go through the conference championships. Might start being able to sprinkle some ACC basketball in there. Maybe.
It's another note I was going to throw in. Not a bet because I don't know what the total is going to be. It's just something to keep in mind if you're looking at ACC stuff. Duke games this season so far, in 17 games, the under has cashed 11 of the 17 times. So a lot of Duke's games going under this season. So something to keep in mind if they're playing. They play Boston College tomorrow night.
They got Boston College Saturday night on ESPN at 8:00, and then due to a quirk in the schedule, they're off the whole week. Maybe it's exams or something. They're off for the whole week after that and don't play again until they see Wake Forest on Saturday at the Joel the following Saturday, so a week from tomorrow. So we'll have some ACC stuff. We'll start sprinkling some ACC hoops in there as well. So going to get you out of here. Everybody get out of here from lunchtime. Ryan's got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. It's Friday. We'll be back next Tuesday with a brand new episode. David Glenn will be in the house. Some more surprises as well. We'll look back at the weekend at sports. Like I said, there's a whole lot going on, so we'll have a whole lot to cover. We will see you next week. Everybody have a great weekend.